guys. So session three of Traders Talk. We're back with our favorite traders, Trader Koala, and a very special guest today, um, CT's favorite part-time doctor, Wajahat Mughal. And market's been a little dull lately, but narratives will keep growing. We're gonna keep it simple today. Read the tape, talk trading styles, and take it live together. I will hand it over to you, Koala.
Sounds great. Yeah, no, thanks for the intro. Mujahid, I'm super excited to hear about your journey. So, being a part-time doctor going into crypto, I'd love to hear about the background and sort of like
Yeah,
just your whole
absolutely.
story, how, what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to like be with you guys. I think we've hosted you before, and now I'm like the guest. So yeah, it feels nice to be on the other side of the table. But yeah, in terms of like my background, so my background's in medicine. I basically was down that route my entire life. So I always thought that one day I was going to be a surgeon and kind of live that kind of life. But it was only when I was in medical school that I basically stumbled across the fact that doctors are doctors are pretty terrible with finance in general, and maybe I need to think a little bit broader in terms of like how I'm actually going to make exponential gains potentially. And so as a broke medical student, I somehow stumbled across crypto, and immediately just got hooked by the volatility of it. Especially being young and kind of seeing those amazing green candles that we used to have back in the good old days. Yeah, I was pretty much hooked, and I think from that point onwards, there was something just captivating about kind of trading markets, but also I think at that point in time, I think we saw the very beginnings of DeFi. Um, and to me, like that was like pretty revolutionary at the time in terms of like unlocking new financial primitives, but also like the permissionless access of crypto. And yeah, since that point onwards, I've basically been hooked. I don't practice medicine anymore. I'm pretty much full-time crypto, but yeah, I still have my license, so you can still call me doc.
No, that's awesome. So wait, so you started in 2021 during the DeFi craze,
A
or
little bit
did you
before
hear
that.
about it before that?
Yeah, just a little bit before that. So maybe just around COVID time. So around 2020, maybe you could say.
Okay, so after the first like crazy cycle of like the whole 2017 bubble, you missed that, and then you
Yes.
got in right. Okay, that's actually a good time to get in. Very, very cool. And did being a doctor sort of shape how you sort of think about crypto and risk and just things in general, or did you just be like, is it just two totally separate ways of thinking?
No, good question. I actually think that there's a lot of cross-compatible skills. Like, as a doctor, especially like when I was working in a busy ED, you have to like constantly make decisions like that can change the outcome of things very quickly. And I guess like that level of critical thinking or analysis that you have to do, you could technically apply to crypto markets as well, where you often have to make lots of decisions in a very short period of time. Let's take like the 10th of October crash. You had literally just a few minutes to really make a decision about if you should long, if you should hold off, which asset you should pick. And I guess like there are similarities where, I guess, the emergency alarm's gone off, and I have a patient desaturating right in front of me, and I have to make a decision very quickly about what it is I'm supposed to do. So I guess like those kind of skills definitely cross transfer. So even though I guess you could say that they're completely different fields, I think there are a lot of similarities actually.
Oh, that's yeah, I could definitely see that. And so, do you focus more on so like trading style? Is it more narratives? Are you like what would you say is the type of trader you are? Because at least, back in the DeFi days, it was very narrative driven, right? So have
Yeah,
you sort of carried that on this like during this cycle?
I think like the thing that I'm probably best at is probably like trading on-chain crypto and trading narratives. I think like I had a series that I made on YouTube where I basically created a portfolio going from like 0 to 6 figures, and like part of that series was really just showcasing you like if you keep up with narratives, or if you keep up with trends, and you kind of pick the right things at the right time, whilst it is a very active process, you can actually do it. So I think like that's kind of probably the area of expertise that I have most, or the area that I'm probably most confident in. But I think like the easy days of last cycle, or even the cycle before that you were referring to earlier, are no longer here. You can't really just pick a random altcoin and just kind of hope that it's going to go up. And so you really have to adapt. And I think even going forward, probably if we see what crypto looks like in the coming years as well, I think if you just kind of focus on crypto alone, I don't think that's going to be enough. I think you really need to broaden your horizon. Um, and so like over the last couple of years, I think I've been trying to try different trading styles. I think I've really played around with options a lot, particularly given the fact that that's what we were building for the last couple of years. And even just other derivatives. I think derivatives were one of the things in crypto that really hooked me, and so that's kind of something that I've always been around in general. But yeah, in terms of trading style, so quite a few different trading styles. I think definitely on-chain narratives, but also like trading pubs. I love to pair trade, for example, and that's something that I've done a lot of this year, particularly.
Oh, that's so like when you're doing a pair trade, are you sort of longing and shorting? Like if let's say, I don't know, Zeke BTC pair looks good, you're looking to like long Zeke and short BTC?
Yeah, yeah, generally something like that. Although I don't necessarily ever like to short Bitcoin. I think there are plenty of like vaporware altcoins that are much better short legs. But yeah, absolutely, that's the kind of thing that I definitely like to do.
So how do you end up finding the like those kinds of pair trades? Because I used to do that a few years ago. I've just found it. So like for example, the Whiff Fart coin pair trade used to go very well about a year ago because people would pretty much rotate like they're longing Whiff, and then as soon as it's at resistance, they would rotate into Fart coin. So how are you finding those pair trades now, or what do you look for?
I generally just look for longing strength and shorting weakness. And I think probably some of the trades that I've done in more recent times, like probably the last few weeks and months, have been more around not even just shorting like one particular asset, but shorting like a basket of like alts. So you could do something where let's say you long Bitcoin, Zcash, and Hype, and then you short maybe like 10 altcoins across a variety of sectors that particularly are a little bit weak. And I think in those cases, even if let's say one or two of those alts that you short go up a little bit more, yeah, generally like those trades are really, really easy and you get like a good win rate. And with those, you can kind of size up a lot more comfortably. You don't necessarily worry so much about what your position is going to look like overnight. And those positions I can keep for days or even weeks.
Yeah, I mean, alts are pretty much down only, sadly, this cycle, so you can hold those for a bit.
Yeah.
But so I guess if I understand correctly, you're really looking to like get long the bigger names, right? The ones that are showing strength, and then you're sort of hedging out that position with shorts on alts. And are you looking to close those out at like, is it a narrative that you look for, like some sort of news piece that hits, or more a technical level? Like when does that pair trade sort of end?
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think it's necessarily news based because I think sometimes these alts just keep bleeding for literally forever. But I think it's more like let's say I'm looking at like Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin hits certain levels, or if Hype or some of the larger caps that I'm holding hit certain levels, then I think it's like worth taking some chips off the table. I think like again, just to add one more point, like something more recently as well is especially with on-chain pubs, when we're seeing, the rise of like not just crypto assets, but other assets as well. Avantis, for example, has, a couple of indices as well. And I think those make like really, really great long legs for your pair trades. And yeah, that's something that I think probably you couldn't do maybe a year ago, but now you can do very easily. And I think makes your trading even better.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's one of the things that I want to play around with more personally is I used to do a lot of pair trading with SPX BTC, but there was no clean way to do that pair trade. In crypto, you'd need to use like a legacy broker or something. But now you can actually do it directly on. I mean, a lot of these dexes are starting to support them, but the spreads on Avantis have been, I mean, they've been really, really good recently, and I think I think the only risk that you have is just the gaps like overnight. But in general, I feel that the pair trades, I think they're going to play out a bit more, especially as this uptrend or downtrend continues. We'll see what happens given the state of the market. But are you using any of these AI agents, or are you building like custom tools to sort of scout these out or do these executions?
There are actually a couple of websites already that essentially can scan the market and give you like what are good potential long legs and short legs. I actually can't remember the name of it, so I wonder if I can very, very quickly just see if I can find like the name of one of these.
Yeah, for sure.
Think we have one called perpsmoney.xyz, and I think there's like a couple of others as well, which is called Alpha Pair. Like these are just like some people who have decided to, I don't know if they vibe coded them or what, but like they're really, really great tools for like seeing which assets have strength, which assets have weakness, momentum, like plays and things like that. So yeah, those are just a couple of examples that I could suggest that actually have some good tooling for you to pick like your long legs and short legs. Am I using like any particular AI agents? Not really, but I guess you could argue like some of these toolings do have like AI built into them. So yeah, maybe I guess so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I haven't heard of those tools. I'll definitely check them out. And so I think the one thing that I found with sort of narrative trading is like there's a lot of hype sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's just a huge wave of people just wanting to get long. So how do you end up sizing? How do you size with those kinds of trades? Do you try and like scale in as the position's working or as the narrative is like playing out, or do you like to sort of go in before the narrative, like so you have a thesis of like this narrative is going to play out? Do you size heavier at the beginning, and then as the trend starts to form you start to realize profit, or are you sort of waiting for confirmation and then sizing in?
Yeah, the honest answer is it really varies a lot. We could maybe go through a few examples of like some stuff that I probably have done.
Yeah, I'd love
So
that.
let's take Zcash as an example, right? I think over the last few months now has had like a pretty strong narrative, and I think I probably wasn't that early to it either. I think it went from like $40 initially to like maybe 100 or so, and at that point I kind of felt like I was a little bit late. And so in that case, what I did was just started scaling in slowly. And as the price continued to go up, 100, 150, 160, 180, 200, kind of fill a larger position size, um, uh, and then eventually ended up going to like what 600 plus. So yeah, I think in those cases where I feel like I'm a little bit late, maybe I'll just kind of scale in slowly. And then the good thing is like if let's say I was wrong, or if let's say I'm late and it turns the other way, I can kind of quite easily close that position as well. I haven't got my full position size there. But then if you take like let's say another example where I don't know AI agent season, a year ago, kind of in those cases I would just go for it because I think the market conditions would just reward risk so much. So I think it really just depends on like market conditions, the type of asset, things like that. I personally try to be as flexible as I possibly can. How about you? How do you like to do it?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I have not done too much pair trading. This, I'd say, in the past 6 months, especially after the market's kind of like, the market has not been. I think if you wanted to pair trade, you literally are just looking to short any altcoin, and long BTC. Because if we were to look at any of the alt BTC pairs, they've just been down only. They've been down only against BTC, and there has been a bit of a structural shift, I'd say, in the past few weeks, where you can see that there is a basing and a bottoming on some of those alt BTC pairs. But what I used to do when altcoins, actually were giving some opportunity, is I wouldn't short BTC, but I would not long BTC. So for me, if you're not long BTC, technically you're flat or short, I guess, because you're in fiat or the USDC or whatever. And I would long the altcoins, and then I would flip that, add BTC resistance. So for me, it was very technical, where I'm not really looking to take a pair trade against BTC, but I just wouldn't long BTC. I would rather be in the altcoin until that resistance level hits. Whereas I'd say about a year ago, it was very different, especially when memes were very hot. What we
Mm.
tended to see is rotations between different meme coins, and that's where I thought pair trading worked very, very well. Where I mean, it was very, very obvious to see. You can, I think I tweeted a bunch of like with Pepe and with fart coin charts, and it would be like clockwork. As soon as we hit resistance on whiff, it would start to fall, and then fart coin would start to go up. And it was very obvious that players in the market were really looking at the same levels. But with the whole meme bust cycle and October 10th and whatnot, I think those opportunities are gone for now. But if we do get there, I do think it's coming back. I do think that I don't think it's going to come back with memes, to be honest with you. I think it's going to come back with the more like not vaporware altcoins, which I don't know if we can say that because technically it's all vaporware, but your curves and your Aave, actually like products that are working, I do think we're going to see that come back.
Anything that makes revenue, essentially.
Exactly. Anything that's if there's a product behind it, it's not just like, oh, we have this cool idea,
Mm.
or I mean, the whole Monad thing is like a new blockchain. Do we really need a new blockchain? So like all these things where it's like, okay, you built this thing, but what's the narrative? And I mean, Plasma, for example. So XPL has just been pretty much down only, even though it's a good product. So that's one that I'm interested in longer term. But as a pair trade, I'm not sure sort of what I'd want to pair it against. So I'd want to sort of look at the narratives and be like, okay, what is the competitor to XPL, to Plasma? And then is there a pair trade there?
Yeah, fine. That makes sense to me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's for me, it's going to be more about just seeing what the narratives are going to play out. Because I think that 2025 was honestly the year of dexes, right? So we had so many dexes. Whereas I think 2026 is going to be dexes plus neobanks, right? So the neobank narrative as well. So I think that's coming up next year. And I think the best dexes are going to stay around next year and continue to build. And because everybody, I mean, literally everybody under the sun has been building a dex, I think a lot of them that we saw this year are probably going to go away. And you're going to just have a few staples that are going to stick around longer term.
I mean, that's
Um,
usually what happens with like most like new primitives, right? I guess you could say we saw a similar kind of thing with like, I don't know, maybe major chains last cycle, or even like you could even argue like money markets originally when you had like Compound kind of battling with Aave, and the Compound was 10x bigger than Aave when it first launched and kind of ended up dying away. So yeah, maybe we'll see the same fate with some of these dexes as well this year. I'd argue that maybe we've actually seen a little bit of this neobank meta already. EtherFi, there's a couple of
Avicii, yep, a lot of
Avicii,
nerfs on it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Avicii, yeah, exactly, which has an incredible chart for the kind of market that we're in right now. And so yeah, maybe we've kind of experienced a little bit more of this already, and maybe it continues into next year. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I think what we're seeing right now is kind of like what we saw last year, where there were dexes around. Right? I mean, Hyperliquid's the prime example, right? Like dexes did exist, but it was kind of the beginning. And I feel we are at the beginning now of the whole neobank narrative, right? And I think the player that's going to win the neobank, the neobank competition, quote unquote, is anybody where you can have live custody, because very few of them right now are self custody. So Avicii is self custody, so you have your private key, and I think that's why it's doing very well. And they're actually building a pretty solid product. So I do think 2026 is going to be super interesting. So we'll see sort of the best dexes around, and we'll see who the best neobank is going to be. Um, and have you been playing around with like ZFPs and like zero fee perps, whether it's on Avantis or other platforms? What are your thoughts on that?
I've played around with pretty much most of the main pup markets. No, I like them. I think it's great. It's a nice way to get people in. I have noticed though generally that fees across markets have generally dropped. Even with like some of the other ones as well. I think we saw growth mode enabled by Hyperliquid, which basically reduced fees by 90%. So yeah, I think Avantis was actually probably one of the first to introduce the zero fee pup market. But it's very interesting to see like others kind of copy it and kind of end up with that model. And if you think about it, like most of the traditional brokers that exist today, let's say the likes of Robinhood or even some of the ones that I have on my phone, for example, they don't actually have fees, and so maybe this is just a race where practically most pub markets will end up having zero fees, but then monetize through other means instead.
Yeah, so I mean it's going to be a trade-off between like fees and slippage, right? Because they have to make a profit somehow, and I
Yeah.
think it's going to be yeah, it's going to be pretty much spread slippage, anything like that. But I think the ability to have sort of like ZFPs on legacy, so like on the indices, for example, like Nasdaq and whatnot. I think that's going to be huge, and it'll make on-chain trading a lot more attractive because a lot of people, I mean, especially given this downturn, they've been wanting to trade more like just more legacy markets, whether it's Tesla, Robinhood, whatever, and they're like asking, well, what kind of broker should I use? But if they're crypto natives, like you can actually now do that on chain, so you can sort of be in the crypto ecosystem and still trade legacy markets, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, and I think in the last few months we've probably seen this really explode. I think there's like at least maybe 10 or so different markets that you can trade equities and indices on, and it looks seems like every week there are new and more assets that we can trade. So I think it's going to be very exciting to see where we end up. Like maybe early next year, I think there's going to be so many options. I guess one thing that I'm actually looking forward to is like when we actually see proper spot equities on chain. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, let's see. I think it's much easier to spin up perps, I guess. So yeah, I think we'll end up seeing a lot more. It seems like right now it's very easy to find markets that have like the Mag 7, a little bit more tricky to find like more niche like stocks as well, and maybe some of those will be interesting to pick from as well. I'm curious, what do you think about like like equity pubs, and like what the user actually wants who's trading them? Some a thought that I had in my head is like, when you're trading some of these, I don't know, maybe more stable stocks or equities, you kind of want to have like longer term positions. And I'm curious, like, what you think about like funding payments and versus margin in kind of those areas.
Yeah, so I think that's the challenge where I'm still not convinced that, let's say I want to hold Tesla for a few months, whether I'd want to do that on chain yet, because just the funding and the fees that you need to pay. Um, I don't know how that's going to add up. If it's zero fee, then obviously it makes sense to do it. But I don't think I'm convinced yet that I want to hold a longer term position. I'd rather have the actual single name stock itself. But again, if I can just stay within the sort of crypto eco chain, then and I'm not paying any funding, and I can sort of get in and out whenever. I think I would just prefer it on chain, to be honest with you.
How much would you be happy to pay to keep a Tesla 2x long position? Let's say Tesla was a stock you wanted to buy. How much would you be happy to pay for just a 2x long for 12 months?
I don't know. I would need to compare it on. I don't know the rates off the top of my head, but I think if you have like a margin account on one of these like legacy brokers, you're paying, I think, what is it, like 8% annualized a year or something like that, or four.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
don't know what
high. That's pretty high.
it's. I forget what it is. I remember. I mean, this was again. I haven't done this in a very very long time, just because I've shifted a lot of my trading to just like crypto because I used to do more stocks and whatnot, and then when
Yeah.
I discovered BC in 2016, I just sort of shifted completely. But I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was, forget the broker, but it was a high rate. So I don't know. I would need to see what that looks like now. But what about you? What's like a fair rate? Because I really just don't know what the actual rates are right now.
Yeah, well, on a lot of the pub markets right now, the ones that have like margin rather than funding per se, I think we're looking at like 5% annualized, which to me seems fairly reasonable. I would like a little bit lower than that. So for me, I'd be really happy to pay like, I don't know, let's say 3% a year. But if I could get a 2x exposure to, let's say, SPX or whatever the asset of choice is, I would take that. 3% seems pretty reasonable to me. I think above five seems a little bit expensive. But
Hmm.
yeah, around 3%, I'd be more than happy to pay.
Yeah, and I think it also just depends on like so 8%, so like 5%, above 5%, you would want more than probably 2x leverage for something like that, because I think that would be very, very expensive. But if you're, I think it's also just like, well, what can Tesla do? For example, Robinhood, because Robinhood, I mean, was trading for I think under $20 back in March, and then it just skyrocketed. So higher rates, I mean, I'm obviously fine with it because just the math makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think in Robin Hood's case, yeah, absolutely makes sense. Um, yeah, to be fair, even with some of the Mag 7, like let's say Google, for example, it's up massively this year. So even if you paid 8%, like happy days, so Google's up like high double digits this year. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of a bit worried about like kind of how generally like markets are very like traditional markets are very euphoric. Kind of goes with this like K-shaped like market trend that we're seeing right now with crypto versus tradfi. But yeah, no, again, it's just something that I was curious about, like how much would you'd be or we'd be interested in paying to kind of keep leverage positions open every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's something I should look into, because as we see these single name stocks continue to get listed on, on Avantis and other like on chain platforms, I personally would prefer them than to just do it in a legacy broker. But the rates do need to be fair, obviously, right? Because I don't want to be, just because it's on chain and I'm more comfortable with it, I wouldn't want to be paying 20%, right? That's just kind of silly.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think that's actually something for me to do a little bit of homework on.
we'll check it out together later.
Yeah, actually, I'll shoot you a message after this to see. I'm gonna actually look up what the rates are from just a few years ago when I was borrowing on margin. And as far as like ZFP, so like if we were to talk about the trading side of things, like do you prefer to do ZFP trades, or do you prefer just the regular non-ZFP trades? Because I mean, there's a huge trade-off between the two, obviously. And like, what is your preference?
I think like it depends like what I'm trying to do. Am I scalping? Am I in a position for a longer time period? So yeah, I think it's hard to say just off the top. I think like when I'm like doing farming, for example, like I definitely like zero fees because I'm trying to farm like a lot of volume, for example, and therefore opening a lot of positions, closing a lot of positions. I'll take zero fee any day. So yeah, it really depends on what I'm trying to do. I think you'll have some scenarios like you said, like there are trade-offs. So you'll have some scenarios where I think zero fee makes way more sense. Something where you're trying to farm volume or something like that,
Hmm.
or you're like, but if I'm like trying, something about me that I really love to do is I like to farm with stables. I'm a big stablecoin farmer, and so if I'm farming funding across different pub markets, then the fee doesn't necessarily matter so much because I will be like keeping that position open for a long time anyway.
That makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. So you're doing this manually, or you're using one of those sort of agents you talked about when you're
Uh,
farming funding?
no, usually when I farm, I do it manually, but now there are lots of tools that can help you to like create like these delta
Mhm.
neutral positions. Some of them are going pretty viral on Twitter these days. But yeah, most of the time I actually just kind of open these positions manually. I think I got a good nick for it, so yeah, I can save a few basis points doing it myself.
Oh, cool. That's really interesting. I might hit you up on I don't do any of this this farming. Like I don't farm funding or anything like that. So I might hit you up on that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think like look, when you're in markets like what we're in right now, I think especially the last few months, you know, being directionally long is kind of tricky. It's hard. Like honestly, it's sometimes hard to find edge in the market. You think like you have so many different variables to consider as well, and the market doesn't have as much liquidity. Like that, we're not seeing those green candles like we had before. It's fair to say for me anyway that I think this year the market's been hard to trade. If you're a directional trader, you want to go long crypto, because unfortunately it just hasn't been as good of a year as maybe last year has been. And so, yeah, sometimes like, you have some stable coins and yeah, like right now, I think I'm particularly stable coin heavy. And I think given the like love and passion of that DeFi offers, and kind of derivatives in general, right? Because I like derivatives in all shapes and forms. That's not just perps. That's options. There are other kind of derivatives too. I like to use them, and so yeah, if I can earn like 20 to 50% APRs doing kind of more complicated or advanced strategies myself, then yeah, like I'm gonna do that. And it's something that like I've been doing since I got into crypto anyway. So yeah, I think maybe it's time to democratize access to these through something through some things that I'm building right now as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, when you get them out, just let me know. I'd love to try them out. Yeah, do you want
Yeah,
to sort of
sure.
transition then to sort of do some live trading on Avantis, maybe Perps, ZFP, whatever you prefer?
Why
Hop
not?
on, look at the charts.
Why not? Let's do it. Let me
Use
share
picker
my screen.
wheel. I'm like, uh, I've seen a couple people on our Discord streams do it, so I'm like all about picker wheeling right now.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Right, I'm sharing my screen. I think you just need to add my screen in, and I think we can show it to everyone.
Yeah, just doing that.
Perfect.
Right. So I just before we started this call, I basically topped up a wallet with about $250. So I think Koala, I'm happy for you to like walk us through some interesting trades. Maybe we could do it together actually. Or maybe the
Not.
people maybe the people watching as well. They can type in some comments on an asset that they want us to trade, and we can kind of take a
Yeah,
look
why
at it.
don't we see what people are kind of interested in? We can pull up the charts and take a look.
Yeah. The Avantis intern says 500x ETH long.
Back above 3K. This whole market pumped because of this chat.
Oh my gosh, look at the market, 89K. I did not expect that. Oh yeah. We can look at ETH. I don't mind. You take it. Okay, we got some comments. Some Nico says Tau, the AI coin. I'm very flexible. I don't mind.
Yeah, is Tau on? Let's see. Is it listed though? For let's see.
Tau is listed indeed. It is.
Tau. Oh yeah, not ZFP, but yeah, we can do not ZFP though. It doesn't really matter. I think that's fine. Yeah, you want to do? Should we have a look at Tau then?
Come on, let's have a look. Why don't you? Shall I zoom out a little bit and we can look at the chart like generally
Yeah,
overall?
let's zoom out. Let's have a look here.
Right. This is a 4 hour
Right.
chart.
All right, let's have a look at the 4 hour. All right, so 4 hour honestly looks good, but the problem right now is it's literally at it's at pretty much near the point of breakdown, right? So where it pretty much died.
Mm.
Um, so to me, if I were to zoom into this, so we'll go to the 15-minute chart. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to long this right now. So I
Yeah,
would
I
probably
think that was a much
do
better
this.
opportunity to long it like early this morning here.
Yeah. So actually, if you go to the 5 minute, I mean, this is to me a pretty simple trade to take. On the 5 minute, you can see that that block, that order block right before. Let me just look here. So you're on the 5 minute chart. Yep. So you can see right. You see that candle between like right after that 9 a.m. where that 9 a.m. is.
Yeah,
Yep. Right. So go to the right a bit more.
yeah. Oh,
Keep
this.
going. Keep going. Yeah, right here. So it's rejecting from this region right here.
Mm,
So for me, BTC being at like 89K, I think taking a short here down to not much. I mean, if you want to just take a quick scalp down to maybe 308, 309 with your
yeah,
stop above 315, I think that could work.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that will work. And yeah, because that region is pretty much your KSR zone. So I think that right there, if we were to take this, would be a simple 1.3R trade. And with BTC at 89K, which is, let's pull up my levels here. Yeah, it's right below Monday high. So this is kind of like a prime area for a bit of a pullback.
Sounds pretty good to me.
All right.
What should we do? How much leverage?
So let's see. You have $250 in this account. So
We
let's
can crank it
let's
up.
actually hold on a second. Let's
We're only having fun here anyway.
Yeah, I know, but still. Um, let's do. I think 10x is fine. I think 10x is fine. Honestly, I think this. I think it's. I think we should see a pullback across the board now.
All right, sounds good. Now, normally I never do market orders. I always like to make orders instead. But I think just for today, we're gonna just do a market order. Go on. Let's hit some of these 308 and 315. Seems
Perfect.
pretty good.
Yep, just
Maybe
simple one to one.
maybe a
Three
little
fourteen.
time.
Why not?
Yeah, why
Why
not?
not?
Why not? That sounds pretty good to me. Right.
Yeah, because this is. I mean, it's a prime pullback area, and E3K psychological level, and then BTC 89K another psychological level. All right.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I think this was a fun trade. Thank you, Nico, for the recommendation. I,
Looks
I
like
haven't
something
I
maybe
haven't I haven't kept up with Tau recently. But yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah, let's see what this does because so I mean I know it was one of the hot AI sort of narratives a while
Mm,
back,
mm,
but I haven't actually kept up with it either.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll take a look at it. So, is there anything else in the market that like is particularly on your radar? We can look at some more charts whilst we're just looking at this position as well.
Yeah, so I think the one that I'm very interested in right now is kind of Sol.
Oh yeah.
So if we look at this, so Solana, like if we look at the weekly, it's kind of like at the range low, right? Which to me is kind of like a primary because it's like a do or die.
Mm.
And also are like we have the weekly EMA 200 as well, which usually acts as pretty strong support. So if the market rebounds, I really could see this going to the 160 to 170 region.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I see it pretty clearly here. Like, you have all of these different areas where we've basically been at this level. This is the daily chart that I'm looking at right now. You have all of these
Hmm.
levels, and historically, you have like 5 different supports. You could call it this potentially a deviation here. Maybe this is like another one here right now. So yeah, I can understand the thesis for a technical trade like this. I don't know. Is there like, are you lining this up with any announcement with Sol? Maybe something to do with the Sol Dat or the Sol Dats is with a few of them now or anything as such?
Honestly, for me, an announcement per se, because I think there was like an ETF that was announced. I think last week or the week before. But for me,
Yeah.
it's a pure technical play. Just I mean, after this thing just like pretty much went up only. So pretty much what happened was we from the April lows, it just went to 260, and it gave back most of that. But for me, this is the potential zone for a higher low. If we look, if just on the high time frames on the weekly, and
Mm.
it is one of the coins that is the most loved. I mean, the trench guys that trade the trenches love this thing. So it's more of a technical play for me. As a network, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think it's like the best network, honestly. They do need to restart it every now and then,
Mm.
but it's one of the staples people have in their portfolios.
Is this something that you would trade for maybe a few weeks as well?
So for me, this is something that I would hold. I don't know about the time per se, but I would look for. I mean, probably this year's mid range. Sorry, not this year's mid range. Looking at the wrong chart. Um, it's the monthly open. I think it can go into the 170 to 180 region. That to me makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
And that's kind of like our first trouble areas around there too, right? The 160. the 160 region is super important.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely. Okay, interesting, interesting. Yeah, I see this trade. I think it's quite clear as well. And yeah,
Yeah, and I think the other coins that I really have liked a lot are kind of like just the bigger names. So I'm not as interested in the memes at the moment, right? So like your fart coins and your whiffs and your useless and whatnot. I think those have had like a good run, but I think we're probably going to see more of a rotation into, um, like we mentioned earlier, things that are sort of more in play, right? Like actual products, actual use cases. So like one that I like a lot is Aave, for example.
oh yeah,
So Aave to me looks, I mean, it looks very, very good because again, we had sort of then not, if you go to the daily, you had sort of this nice move down and then a strong buyback, and it's just been marching up. So to me, the region that if we can get a proper bounce, the region all of this is going to go are towards the monthly open across the board. So for Ave, it would be around like the 230 region.
I'm just gonna refresh my screen a sec,
Sure.
and we'll pull up Aave for everyone to. Right, here we go. Okay, so yeah, let's go back to Aave again. So say those numbers again to me.
Yeah, so for the 228 region for Ave,
Mm-hmm.
so that's roughly going to be around where the monthly open is.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, I think, last month's mid range around like 190, that's kind of like, that's your KSR right there, right? So we tried to break down and we did break down. You have your H4 EMA 200s around there, the 190 to 195 region. So I think that's where you start to see a bit of a slowdown. But if it reclaims that, I can see this running it back to the 230 region.
Would you set your stop your stop at like 160?
So for this, let's have a look where I would set my stop. So for me, if I get any 4 hour close below 175, that would be my invalidation.
Mm,
I
okay.
would, yeah, you could use a hard stop, honestly, given the momentum. Probably around 165 or so. So that would be like
Yeah.
Monday low. But given this momentum, we had this consolidation and this expansive move up. I don't think we should trade below. I don't think we should really trade below 173 on a closing basis.
I like this trade. I think we should do it. We got stopped out of the Tau trade, so
Oh,
let's
did
do
we?
this one.
Yeah. Let's do this one then.
Let's do this one. I like this one. I
Yeah, and
I, I like Aave too. I think it's a little bit oversold actually.
I think so. I really think so. And again, it's one of these things. It's one of these coins with an actual product that people use. The whole
Yeah.
borrowing and lending.
Yeah, and recently they just announced Aave Mobile, where you can basically start saving on your mobile with insurance as well. So I think that's
Oh,
quite
I didn't
cool.
hear about that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. I think it's like the first time that we're seeing like a major DeFi app like have like built-in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, there are insurance products in DeFi already, but there isn't necessarily one like built into an app directly. You kind of have to go to an external insurance provider. So yeah, I think yeah, pretty cool. And I think there's also Aave V4. So there's actually quite a few like product things happening at the same time that actually make this like to me anyway a good trade.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think this will play out in like a day. I think that it'll probably take a few days to a week if we can get momentum with the market, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I think for me, that hard stop at like the 165 region is good. But I tend to use like candle closes for my invalidation. So if we were to look at the 4 hour chart and you just map out this range between like 178 and 175, we really shouldn't close below that range.
Yeah, no, no, totally fair. Oh, I accidentally used too little leverage here. All right, we'll do that again. But
All right, we
we
can run
set a
that.
limit this time, so we're gonna
Yeah,
get
set a
a
limit.
good order.
Perfect.
But
Perfect.
yeah, no, I think Aave's a cool one. Cool one. I like that one for sure. Right, let's have a look and see if there's any. What's been the best performer of the day, actually? Oh, of course, it's Robin Hood.
You can't beat
uh,
Robin Hood.
yeah. Otherwise,
Uh,
we have Pendle, Hype again. Like going with your thesis, really, of like these revenue generating coins, Pump as
mhm.
well. Like these, you could argue even Zora, which has these creator coins. Yeah. So like, really, the best performers today are those coins that you really talked about.
Yeah, and I think if we do get, I mean, the season that should not be named, like an alt season, right? I
Mm,
think that these are the ones that are gonna perform. I don't think you're gonna see as much performance on the smaller coins.
yeah.
And the issue that I have with the smaller coins right now is, um, if I mean, $1 million market order can move price up 2-3%, right? Just because there's just no liquidity, and the books are very thin.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, if we put this in as a limit, let's see what a good limit is. Let's see. Let me see what I can find here. Yeah, I mean, I think a pullback into like the 180, 181 region is good.
Mm.
So that's like yesterday's high. Yeah, I think the 180 region is like a nice zone.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I see a comment from Leo saying the Coinbase Premium is back. Just just ZFP long BTC. We
Target
probably should have
90.
just long BTC at the start of this podcast,
I
and
know.
I think we'd be doing pretty good, wouldn't we?
I was honestly just with this market, just like every move has been getting reverted. So I was like, okay, went up. Maybe it's time
Mm.
for down now.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I think BTC honestly, if it holds around here, we should see a move towards the yearly open at like 93.5K.
I mean, this is the. I mean, I can't remember. It feels like we were kind of hurt badly pretty recently, and I can't remember. Yeah, look at that. This is the highest that we've been since like going to 80K.
Hmm.
So what a pretty nice move here. What's that? 10% up from the lows now. So yeah, pretty
Yeah,
nice.
this is a lot for BTC.
Mm.
Ten
And
percent.
I guess this is the 93K mark that you were kind of talking about actually before.
Yeah, so I think this zone right here is going to be the first trouble area where we'll start to see some sort of pullback. Again, if we close, so if we can just sort of like base around here and not fall. So Monday's high was what, roughly like 89.2. So I
Mm.
think, yeah, if we hold 89.2 and we start to close candles above there, then I think that's really your next area of interest.
What do you think about like Bitcoin going into next year? You know, like Bitcoin essentially erased its entire gains this year, going from like what 126 down to 80. A 30% plus correction there. And with that, like crypto's drastically underperformed expectations. You know, how do you think about where the market will go next year? Is it going to be a similar kind of thing, especially in Q1 or Q2? Or do you think, perhaps with the ongoing rate cuts that we're expecting as well, maybe there is a chance that like markets continue to rip higher, and Bitcoin like catches a bid.
Yeah, so I think honestly, I think it's going to depend a lot on the midterm elections in the US.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is so crypto went up infinite after Trump got elected. But just the reason, like a lot of his base, if you sort of read what people are saying, like they're kind of upset that he's starting like a lot of these, or he's like talking about like foreign wars, and he hasn't kept a lot of his campaign promises. So there's kind of a split there, and I think if Republicans end up losing the midterms, I think that's going to be a risk for crypto. And the other thing is he's kind of, I mean, he doesn't want to release any of the numbers, right? For the reports, the economic reports, which to me is a bit concerning because I mean, Trump loves to tell everybody how great he is, and if the numbers are good, he'd want everybody to hear it. But the fact that those reports are kind of being blocked right now makes me worried. Like, are things under the hood kind of not good,
Mm,
right? So I really don't know. I honestly don't know. I could see us go in either direction right now. I think we're going to honestly follow what legacy markets do, right? So what the S&P does.
yeah, yeah. Well, the interesting thing is like, legacy markets have been up only recently. But I guess that's mostly not because the stock market is healthy, it's because the Mag 7 have been driving everything. And
That's exactly it.
yeah, those seven companies have been basically driving all of the returns of the market. But if you actually look at like what real life is for consumers, take a look at like um, common stocks like Nike or like Costco or maybe Target, like, and you'll
Mhm.
see like it's a very very different story for some of those stocks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. I think the up move that we've had is exactly what you're saying. It's more of just like the top, like it's really the AI and the tech stocks, right, that are doing well. And I just don't think it's representative of what's actually happening in the economy. I mean, it might be. To me, it doesn't look that way. And
Yeah.
I'm not like an FA expert. I don't claim to be. It's just it's the thing I ignore the most, just because I mean, I just it's above my pay grade. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I know, I get you, I get you. I'm just like looking at like the stock of Nike, and like this is just like a representation to me of like what the actual economy looks like. Which, yeah, I mean, this stock
Hmm.
has been down only. This stock is down 64%. Um,
Right.
I mean that like this is a sign of like consumer spending. This is a sign of like what the real life, what real life actually looks like for people all over the world. Where I think actually maybe people don't have the same amount of money as they did during COVID, when stimulus checks were all over the place. And actually, the reality is like most people are in a more difficult position now than they ever have been. Whether that's because of wages, the cost of inflation, um, etc. So yeah, yeah. Let's see how it goes next year. I'm very curious to see like if this can ever kind of recover. Stocks like Nike. It doesn't just have to be Nike. I'm sure there are others as well. I was actually looking at them recently. It's not. There's a few others as well, all around like the consumer kind of category of like some of the big companies around the world, and they all have a very very similar chart to this, where they're down massively year to date.
Yeah, and I think I think also just like bull tariffs have hurt companies quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I can even tell you just like things that I have just gone up infinite, right? I mean, I was actually just comparing like this product that I bought 2 years ago is 50% higher today, right? It's just things have just gone up a lot. And to your point, if we were to look at so Costco is like they're a big wholesaler, and if you look at that chart as well, that's also just been. I mean, that's more of a representation of like the everyday consumer spending, and that's also been just going lower.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Costco. It's down like 20% this year. Um, pretty much at yearly lows right now. So yeah, not great. Considering that Costco as a business is like fantastic and it had an incredible run up
Right.
over the last maybe 10 years or so. This has probably been like its worst performing year as a stock since like the 22 like market drawdown. So yeah,
Absolutely. And again, if we were to zoom out just to the weekly, I mean, to me, a lot of these stocks are kind of like do or die levels because on a weekly perspective, we are at weekly support. So for me, it's very binary, right? So for Costco, if it ends up losing 870, it's going to go down to like $700. Whereas
Mm.
if it holds this area, then then this is the across the board, and I do think that translates into crypto. and we could see new all-time highs next year. So again, it's just I think everything is going to move together, and I think it's just a matter of right now it's just a waiting game, right? So are we going to move higher or are we going to break down from here?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Leo says in the comment section, are we long? Are we finally long Bitcoin? Um, well, I'm not long Bitcoin at the moment because we just basically put our money into this RV long. But that Bitcoin chart looks incredible. I think we're getting close to 90K.
Yeah. So I think here, if we look at BTC on the weekly, honestly, this 90.4 level. So if you want to pull up the weekly chart on BTC, I'll sort of
Yeah,
show you the level that I would look at.
bear with me 1 second. Let's clear some of this mess. Here we go. We've got the weekly chart up here.
Yeah, so if you just draw a diagonal right above, so right above that green candle, so you can see that cluster right there on like the November 2025 area. Yep,
Oh wait,
so right.
okay.
Why don't
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do
yeah.
this? You see the green candle we just had? Just draw a line right above that, horizontal right above there.
Horizontal line. Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So you can see this region right here is a significant resistance area. So for me, we close the weekly above here, or even honestly, if you get a D3, like a 3-day close or a daily close above here, your
Mm-hmm.
low is in, and this marches back up to the 107 level. Right, and the reason I like the 107 level is that weekly block right there, that green candle before it's that point of breakdown.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
so for me, close above 90.3. And the reason I like 90.3 is like if we just move that horizontal that you drew up just a touch so that
Move it.
it, not that one, the other one, the bottom one,
Oh yeah.
move that
Move it
up
up.
so that it just yeah, so it touches the bot, yeah, right there, right? So honestly, if we can reclaim this area on any kind of weekly,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you just run from 94 to 108, and
Mm.
then either that's the complacency bounce, or we just flip that and run it all back.
Yep. Yeah, I think like if you noticed previously as well, like when we have been in this range, we've just shot up or shot down very quickly. It's not we
Yes.
haven't consolidated in this range, so you kind of expect something similar to happen again.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And we can pull up ETH. We can just have a look at ETH because reclaiming 3K is also a big deal.
Mm. Let's this is an old chart, so let's clean this up a little bit. Right, here we go. We're on the weekly.
Yeah. So for me, if I'm looking at this, just eyeballing this, like what's the level that stands out to me? It's that 3.3, 3.4 region.
Yeah, this area right here.
Yes, yeah,
Maybe
that
maybe there.
around. Yep.
Maybe a little bit
Um,
higher.
Yeah, so I mean, we could refine by like doing some lower, like the 3-day chart or whatever. But around this region, I'd say the
Yeah,
3.3 is. So let's just do one thing to clean this up a bit more. Go to the monthly.
that's good. Whoops.
All right, so that's the monthly. So you can see here, like that's your line in the sand. You can see where you have those wicks rejecting, right? And then we broke
Mm.
down. So
Mm.
if we can close the monthly above 3.352, where you have that line right there, and we
Yeah,
just leave like long tail, like downside wick, then to me, this was the bottom. And I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I think you go 5K from there. I really do. Because it's going to be a failed monthly breakdown.
yeah. And I think usually what happens is whenever I see this pattern of like being in kind of a range and you get like this failed breakdown and you have this deviation going back into the range, I often see things just going to back to the top of the range. It's like
Right.
just a very common technical pattern that you see quite often. And yeah, I guess the good thing is like, but in this range, like on a monthly perspective, like we have not consolidated much between this, so I expect it to be quick again as well.
Yeah, and honestly, like if we were to look at again I mean, because we're zoomed in, like this move obviously looks painful, and it was painful, no question. But if we look from sort of the down, like the lows that we had at around 1250, right? That SFP down at the bottom,
Mm,
we ran up for just like months. And if we were to look at this at just high time frame, it's kind of just like it's just a pullback. Didn't feel like a pullback, obviously.
yeah.
Felt like we were dying. Still feels like we're dying, but it's kind of like a nice. It is like a sort of a nice cleanse.
Wow, it's actually crazy thinking that ETH was trading at $1,300 back in April this year.
Yeah, I try not to think of Ethan. It hurts too much.
That feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah,
But it's only been 6 months.
ETH is literally nothing but pain. I try not to think of ETH. Um, but yeah, so I mean I think, and we can do one other thing. So you see the monthly can like where you can shift the time frames on the left side. Yeah. So to the right, you see have your candlestick charts. Just
Mhm.
turn that into a line chart real quick. So you can see here, it just looks like forget the wicks. It looks like it made a higher low, even
Yeah,
down to that 1250 region. You don't see the wick on this side on this chart, but
still
relative to
following the
that
trend.
low, yeah, it's a higher low.
So then actually maybe I've drawn it wrong here. Actually, maybe it should look like this.
Something like that, right? So
Yeah,
something like that. Again, I wouldn't say this is what's going to happen. This could still all roll over. I think
yeah,
we need to see what happens at the 3.3 to 3.4 level.
yep. No, no, totally fair. Totally fair. I see that. Yeah, no, no, exciting times, I guess. Seeing Bitcoin perform well all of a sudden. The
Yeah,
vibes change very quickly. The vibes change very, very quickly, which is something I
that's what
love.
happens. We're over or so back. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, and it was literally just a week ago where we were crying that crypto is over, and yeah, all of a sudden, a couple of green candles, you're back above 93K, and things are looking great again, and there's green everywhere.
Exactly. It's just the way it works. But this was
Yeah.
fun. This was a great stream, and definitely I'm gonna keep an eye on Ave. Let us know when it hits take profit. Hopefully, it hits
Oh
take
yeah,
profit.
absolutely. We're in the green, so we're good. We're good.
I know only 2x leverage, which is a little bit sad, but it's fine. It is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, all
Let's
good.
get those
No,
limos 34.
no, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure, and yeah,
Thanks for
maybe
coming.
we'll
No, this was great.
do it
This
again
was
sometime.
it opened my eyes also to just some of the things that I don't think about. So thanks for just the alpha.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys. Guys, go subscribe to Wajahat's YouTube channel. It's a lot of gold there.
Yeah, I don't post enough on YouTube. Maybe I need to get back to filming. But it's building a startup is so busy these days. You focus all your attention there. So yeah, I
Sure.
think I'll be back to making videos again when I get some time.
Well, you got a new sub. I'm gonna sub, so looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks. Take care.